First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to be part of this event, another amazing event with a lot of insights from European clubs. It's a pleasure to see so many people involved in the football industry. Of course, it's a pleasure to have Senor Arasa, hola, and Senor Loris, buongiorno. Thank you, Pavel Kole, for translating and helping us. We will call this panel Generation B because it's Barcelona and Bologna, and the other one will be Generation Panel Z because of Zvezda and Zagreb. When we hear Barcelona, it is always that comes to our mind La Masia. This is the symbol of success, of immersed talent. And could you give us a brief explanation about the secret that stood behind this academy, one of the most successful academies in the world, and what is the secret?
I think that there's not one only thing, and we were talking yesterday, and we shared some data, and I want to point it right away. We were talking that, for example, in La Liga and second division, only 15 out of 10,000 players make it, which is 0.15%. If you count only La Liga, it's 7 out of 10,000, which is a 0.07%. And if you point it out that Barça or Madrid, only 7 out of 100,000 players. So, which is the success? I think that one key element is understanding that we cannot focus only on the ones that shine and make it, because the system has to embrace everything. The numbers tell us that the big majority will not make it. So how to keep everybody engaged, how to keep as much challenge, as much talent as possible, and to grow it 10 years is key. So accepting that and then having good people to make it possible. We were talking like we have psychologists, coaches, management, because without financials, we were looking there. Without all the structure, this cannot be done.
And this is something very specific and very interesting. How do you detect the talent? Maybe this is one of the most important and at the same time difficult thing.
Yeah. So, for example, in all the age groups, the coaches coach, but the coaches also do the scouting. Like, for example, the 2009, for example, coaches, because there are normally two, they coach their team, but they are the ones that scout all the 2010 born in the region. So there's a group of scouting team, but the coaches are involved in the process. And then how it's looking at the players, because I think that if the experience tells us something, is that there are no two players that are equal. So then having good coaches and good scouters that are able to identify, having a big number from where to choose, and try to give them the best option.
We spoke with you yesterday in our first conversation about the player-centered approach, and I would like to ask Mr. Loris about the Bologna method. Do you also use this, and what is important? We also spoke with you, Mr. Loris, about what is the thing that is more important, the results or the future?
Tanto grazie per l'invito, perché in questo momento mettere vicino Barcellona e Bologna è un po' perché noi siamo all'inizio del progetto. Io tutta la mia storia viene prima, dall'anno scorso sono a Bologna.
Thank you very much for the invitation, first of all, and secondly, I would like to mention that putting together Barcelona and Bologna, it's a little bit difficult right now because we are at the start of the project, and I just arrived in the club 1 year ago.
Io ho una storia di 17 anni al Chievo Verona, 7 anni all'Atalanta.
I have a long story in Verona and in Atalanta.
Sì, con due società molto diverse, nel senso che il Chievo Verona iniziava anche da zero, mentre Atalanta c'ha una storia del settore giovanile da molti anni importante, quindi con un progetto diverso.
And
Però,
the clubs were really different. 17 years in Verona, we started basically from scratch. As for Atalanta, they are really focused on youth development, so there the project is really different.
però in comune avevano la stessa idea, cioè quello di lavorare sui giocatori, sulla ricerca del talento, sullo sviluppo del talento, per portare i giocatori al livello più alto possibile, a seconda poi del livello delle squadre ovviamente. E quindi a Bologna la richiesta che è stata fatta dalla società è proprio questa. Presidente, dopo 10 anni circa di questo presidente, la domanda era: ma quanti giocatori abbiamo prodotto per un calcio importante? E purtroppo nessuno in questo momento.
Maybe Pavel to have the chance to translate.
The common thing between all those clubs that I've mentioned is that they are actually keen to develop young players. And also that's the thing that we would like to do in Bologna. The president was asking himself after 10 years being in charge of the club how many players we actually developed. So they reached a certain level being able to play in the first team. And the request that came to us was to improve that process significantly.
Quindi la risposta è questa, cioè ottenere i risultati attraverso la qualità dei giocatori, ecco, e non utilizzare i giocatori per ottenere i risultati. Questa è l'idea che poi però bisogna portare avanti con tempo, continuità e condivisione del progetto.
So probably the answer to your question, if I have to sum up, would be we need to achieve results, but in the meantime we have to develop players, not vice versa. You know, focusing on the results, no matter what happens to the players.
I'm asking you because more or less that's one of the big problems, main issue in Bulgaria. That we're not so focused on the long term rather than on the short term, which means results in the near future.
Sì, ma è un problema non solo di qua, di tutto il mondo è così.
That's a problem everywhere, not only here in your country.
Ma il settore giovanile, cioè, è così, ci sono due strade. I bambini vengono da noi a 6-7 anni, cioè, e bisogna avere necessariamente tempo. Cioè, il tempo e il progetto è l'unica cosa che può far crescere il talento. Oppure bisogna scegliere un'altra strada, che è solo ed esclusivamente scouting. Quindi andiamo Partizan, Dinamo Zagabria, Barcellona no, non si può, e prendiamo giocatori. Ma non si costruisce un progetto e non è un progetto esportabile. Questo vuol dire avere società che spendono un sacco di soldi, prendere giocatori. C'è tutta una serie di altre problematiche, perché poi i giocatori non basta prenderli, bisogna gestirli, bisogna farli crescere, bisogna stargli vicino, bisogna discutere con le famiglie. Quindi, insomma, è complicato. Io penso però che noi dobbiamo partire dai piccoli.
Well, youth development basically is a two-way street, and you have to choose. If you choose to having kids arriving at the club at 5, 6, or 7 years old, then you need to give them time and you need to take care of them in all the ways possible to develop them as much as possible to a certain level, so they can, the club can benefit from that. or you choose the other option. You go for scouting, as we go to Partizan, we go to Crvena Zvezda. We cannot go to Barcelona. It's a no-go because we cannot afford to take players from Barcelona. But still, then it's probably a bit easier, and the time is shorter. The time frame is shorter. But yeah, it's basically a decision from the club, a strategic decision from the club, how you want to develop the club.
Jordi, we hear everything that Mr. Loris mentioned. Of course, there's no comparison between Bologna and Barcelona, but how long does it take for you to work with a player to understand if he can develop himself and become the player that you want? Because on one side, it's to be in a club that he's not fighting for the championship title any year, to be part of the European competition. But on the other hand, is to have a club like Barcelona every year fighting for La Liga title, Champions League, etc. How difficult is to, in such a competitive environment, still to develop player and implement him in the first team?
So, for example, there's a commitment at the grassroots that is once you pick a player, at least you give 2 years. So there's time at least to show, because if not, Miralem before was talking about the pressure and how's that, no? Like, for example, in Barça, something that you feel from the coaching side, from the player side, from the family side, is that when you go to a place, even from our fan side, no, they do not only expect you to win, but to win playing in a certain manner, no? So even when you win not playing how it's supposed to be, the people is not happy with you, no? And that's a pressure that it can take some time, no? So giving time for them, it's an important matter, no? And then how much time? I would like to have that answer, but you have players like Pedri that have never been in the grassroots program, no? Arrive here and arrive at Barcelona, and the first season they play Barca like an angel, no? So, and then you have examples like now that we are lucky, and we have to accept that we are lucky that you have 3 players from the 2000 born, like Kubarsi, Yamal, and unluckily Bernal it's injured, but what he showed, it was amazing for us, that the 3 of them made it, no? And that they've been a lot of time. So I would say that there's not one single answer of how much time, no? Of course that, yes, the ones that have been with us, except Pedri and some of them, you can appreciate some ways of doing things, no? That you say, this feels Barca.
It's very difficult because on one hand you're trying to achieve the highest goals that you are capable of. On the other hand, you're trying to you have like a diamonds, like rough diamonds that you want to become a real diamond. And we see the last year that Barcelona actually returns to its roots with Yamal, with Kubarsi. How difficult is to work with this player and to make the transition to the first team, and how to say, the pressure is high, the expectations are really high. How do you deal with the players? How do you support the player so mentally, physically, etc., to be able to overcome all the obstacles that he meets through this transition?
I think that every answer would be different, and the people, I have to accept also that each one have to talk about what they know. This transition at this period for the youth to the professional are the colleagues, are the ones that are overseeing that process. But I think that it's a match of things, no? Like first, Guido from Feyenoord, he said that when they went through tough moments, as FC Barcelona, I think that we cannot look at another side. It's not the best moments, or the situation of now is promoted because maybe you could not sign, and then you just have to give opportunities. And in those moments, take those brave decisions is easier. So the one that is leading take the decision, and then the other ones perform, and it's fantastic, no? But just to put in a single line or this is the secret, it's very difficult, no? Because then we have like other cases that look that it could happen and it has not happened as nice, no? So yeah, a lot of inputs.
And when do you understand that a player is ready to go to the first team? Is there any specific that you're looking for, something specific that tells you he's ready to go? You don't have any more Barcelona C, you have Barcelona B.
Barcelona B,
straight
yes.
to the first team.
So the structure, and now we have examples that just jump from the U18 to the first one, no? So the U19, the B team, and the first team, all of them practice at the same time. So whenever happens something in the first team, it's just you pull from the B or you pull from the U18, depends on the profiles. So the ones that take the decisions are the ones that see the players every single day, no? And they are the ones that know if they perform or they not perform, or if they are ready. And then, for example, the people leading these departments, alongside with the psychologists, I know that they had a kind of some questions, no? And some individual meetings, and you could see the answers, no, of the ones that were achieving it, and the answers of those ones that were not able, no? Or to give you an example, the people that was leading La Masia before, that now has changed, the U19s were offered, or the U17s, I think, were offered a 2+2 contract, no? And you could see which one of them were buying things, accounting on those 4 seasons, or those ones that were managing more calmly, no? So I think that it's a performance alongside the structure that they have surrounding them. We mentioned before agents, families. So I think that we should keep all that into account and not take simple answers.
It's always there are multiple answers, a lot of things. Mr. Loris, we have spoken about players, the transition, but let's mention a little bit about and talk about the importance of the coach. How actually important is the coach in developing the players? You have been part for a lot of years with together with Giovanni Sartori in Chievo Verona, later in Atalanta, now we're in Bologna. We have seen a lot of players raised to their prominence from these clubs. So you have a lot of experience working with young kids.
Allora, diciamo che rispetto a quando giocavo io ai tempi miei, adesso gli allenatori sono molto più preparati, no? Hanno molte più possibilità di accedere a corsi, di studiare, di essere preparati da un punto di vista didattico.
Well, let's first say that back in the days when I was playing and comparing to now, the football coaches are much more prepared and much more educated. They have all the tools necessary, and from the point of view of education of young players, now the coaches are much more prepared.
Però io che faccio settore giovanile praticamente da quando ho smesso di giocare, ci sono 2 tipi di allenatori. Anche se sono tutti bravi, ma c'è un allenatore che deve allenare le prime squadre e un allenatore che può allenare il settore giovanile. Cioè sono 2 idee di calcio diverse.
Well, I was practically doing my job as a scout from the moment I stopped playing. So I can say that from my experience, there are 2 types of coaches. One is really able and ready to coach a first team. And then the other one, all of them are good coaches, but the other one is really born to be a youth coach.
Cioè, perché noi scegliamo o cerchiamo di scegliere gli allenatori in base alla condivisione del progetto. Cioè, pensiamo che tutti gli allenatori siano importanti nella catena di formazione, perché un ragazzo ha 10, 12 anni, 14 anni di crescita e ogni allenatore è una parte fondamentale della crescita di quel ragazzo lì. Deve essere gratificato per questo, perché l'allenatore dell'Under 19 deve essere uguale all'allenatore dell'Under 12 da un punto di vista della considerazione, però bisogna condividere questo tipo di percorso, no? Quindi lavorare sullo sviluppo del talento, lavorare sul giocatore, lavorare in sinergia con gli altri allenatori, perché questo è quello che poi, mettendo insieme coach, fisioterapisti, preparatori atletici, può sviluppare una qualità di un giocatore e portarlo a diventare un giocatore importante.
So the way we choose a coach is really focused on how much he accepts our philosophy in the club, and also there is, of course, the basic principle that all the coaches are equal. So it doesn't matter if you coach under 19 or under 12, you need to be praised for what you're doing. So basically receive a good salary. But also you need to engage with the principles of the club, how you develop players, how we develop players, and also you need to work in synergy with all the other coaches in order to give your input, and together with the fitness coaches, with the psychologists in the club, etc., etc. At the end, you get a player who is actually a good product, ready to step in the first team.
In the second panel, Pavel Kolev talked about the football business. Do the people who work in the academies also understand it as a football business, as an investment? Because for instance, Atalanta, the club that you're coming from, before your transfer to Bologna, relies a lot on youth players, on selling them, on incomes from developing players. Do you look at this also as a business? In a good way?
Beh, insomma, allora, non è che si fanno i giocatori per far business. Cioè, ognuno deve fare il meglio del suo lavoro. Cioè,
so, the purpose is not to build a player to sell him abroad for money. That's to do business. That's not the main idea. Everybody should do what they understand best in that process, but the process has different angles.
Cioè, io penso che noi dobbiamo fare tutto quello che possiamo per far arrivare un bambino al suo massimo livello.
So, for example, we as scouts and the coaches in the academy, we have to do our best to make one player reach the highest possible point in his condition, in his capabilities.
Poi ogni società sceglie il suo modello, no? C'è chi lo porta in prima squadra, chi li vende per rinforzare la squadra, chi produce giocatori. Poi è la società che decide, però il settore giovanile, cioè il nostro compito è cercare di fare il massimo per portare ogni ragazzo al massimo, no? Noi non sappiamo se adesso un under 14 o un under 13 potrà andare in prima squadra. Non possiamo saperlo perché...
Okay, yeah. So, and then when we do our job, it's up to the club to decide what to do. There are clubs that are promoting these players to the first team. Other clubs are selling them when they reach a certain level. But it's not my decision. It's not our decision. It's a decision from the club. It's something that the club needs to choose how to proceed with. And it's not possible to say for a boy under 13 or under 14 right now if he can make it to the first team. That's I have to be a fortune teller to tell you that.
Cioè, dipende da troppi fattori.
There
Non-
are
non
too
solo
many
tecnico,
factors in that
tecnico,
process.
fisico, mentale, genitori,
Mental factors,
agenti. Cioè,
physical, parents,
però
agents.
quello che noi dobbiamo fare è non fargli perdere a quel bambino lì neanche un'ora di lavoro e della nostra, hai capito, del nostro passione per lui. Poi dipende da lui, dal campo, dalle situazioni, cioè, però noi dobbiamo fare tutto quello e non possiamo lavorare solo per quello che pensiamo che possa arrivare, perché poi quello non arriva e magari arriva quello che non pensavamo che arrivasse. Io ho un giocatore in nazionale, adesso lo dico perché è un ragazzo d'oro, si chiama Del Prato.
Okay. Going back from what you started with, so it's really difficult to predict which player will reach the first team, and also explaining how many factors are involved. We cannot afford to focus only on this player that we see and identify as a great talent, because maybe then 2 years later another one arrives to the first team, and the one that you focused all your effort on is not fulfilling the expectations. So it's a very risky process. Now I can tell you, for example, we have one player in the national team, Del Prato,
Che non era considerato.
and he was never seen as a really talented player in the academy.
Questo è il classico esempio di come il lavoro, sacrificio, voglia di migliorarsi, e lui è sempre migliorato. L'Atalanta ha venduto il giocatore.
But it's at the end of the day, it's up to the player how he develops, how much effort he puts in the training sessions. And Del Prato was a guy who was always developing step by step, and Atalanta was able to sell him right now.
È stato trasferito al Parma, è il capitano del Parma e adesso è stato convocato in nazionale, per cui, capito, questo non si può prevedere, perché però non possiamo neanche pensare che il talento nasca così, cioè che ci sia il talento che nasce così, cioè il lavoro e lo sviluppo del talento poi porta i giocatori ad arrivare. Altrimenti ogni anno dovremmo mandare via un giocatore, prenderne uno più bravo, dopo ne prendiamo un altro. Cioè uno più bravo lo troviamo sempre, no? Ma noi quello che dobbiamo fare è allenare i nostri e cercare di non perdere proprio niente, neanche un centimetro di quello che possiamo fare.
So Del Prato was developed by Atalanta, then he was sold to Parma, and he became captain of Parma. Now he's in the national team, but the point is that he was never considered such a big talent. And now what I'm trying to say is that obviously everything depends on a lot of factors, but at the end of the day, the important thing is how much the player wants to develop himself. And our job is to make all the effort possible for this player not to lose even 1 minute, even 1 second, even 1 centimeter of work that we can give him, and then it's up to him.
Jordi, a lot of questions come to my mind after this explanation of Mr. Loris. Me too, yeah. But I'll start with this one. Mr. Loris mentioned about Del Prato, about his way, that at the very beginning he was not so, let's say, that people didn't predict him a bright future. In this, speaking about it, how do you deal, and do you have any specific type of work with the so-called late developers in Spain, in Barcelona, La Masia, overall?
So it's if you look at numbers and when you talk about late developers, no, a lot of times they develop in other clubs, no, and there's a moment that they end up arriving at the club because we have a lot of things, no. You always, I have to say also that you always see the grass greener on the other side. As a club, we also have our things, but the people wants to come, no, and we are lucky with that. So sometimes they follow their path in other environments and then come, because if you look at numbers, again, coming back to the point, you see that the ones that are not late developers have an advantage. No, to pick that eye and select this has a potential. Again, I completely align with Lorris. Is very difficult. I think that we have to accept that to predict in a 10-year old what will happen in 9 years of development, of if they have the ethic of work, no, who crosses the path, which kind of experiences is something that is out of our mind. But yeah, we have some good late developers. The good thing would be we are approaching about moving up, moving down. And I think that is one of these challenges and these barriers that we have of breaking. Not the moving up. The moving up is always well accepted. The moving down, I think that there's a lot of education still to be done, no? To provide confidence, to provide good experiences. Because there's this exception of if I always with the higher challenge, it will be the best for me. And we disagree a little bit. Sometimes you have to provide that plan for confidence for the players. And then we jump in another role, no? That is, okay, to do that, you have to embrace also interactions with families, interactions with agents, interactions with other players.
You mentioned confidence, and I will go back again to what Mr. Loris said about building the player. How important is the education in terms of building the personality? We spoke about the numbers that less than 1%, like 0.15 are capable of playing in the league, La Liga and La Liga second, La Liga Hypermotion, and only 0.07% of the players, of 10,000 players.
La Liga.
Sorry?
First division.
First division, yeah. So it is very important to help them build them as a person, improve themselves, so to be prepared for the life after the football, because obviously just a bunch of players are capable of become the player that the players we know. Mm-hmm. How do you have any specific strategic, or how do you work both lines with this? This is more or less also connected to what Dimitar Iliev talked about in the third panel, the dual career. But in this case, we're talking about the youth players.
I think that we have an amazing environment. We have an amazing environment with football, because at the end, football, you have to cooperate. You have to cooperate with other colleagues to achieve a goal. You have an opposition that it wants the opposite of you, no? That creates a lot of interactions, a lot of challenges. That is what you face in other environments, no? When you are out in the professional world. So it's just embracing those opportunities and doing the coach education, so they keep an eye on that, no? Every opportunity, how they interact, if they appreciate the opponent, to give us the opportunity to be better, no? Not just shaking hands. There's a meaning of shaking hands with the other ones. Is because thanks to that we have the opportunity of doing this, no? How they behave with their families, how they behave with their referees, and to achieve all that, you need to be aligned. You need to have good profiles of coaching as technical staff and all the other profiles that surround that, no? And embracing that's important. That those numbers are a reality. And that we have an environment to educate people and to make a change in society, as the video was saying. We strongly believe it.
I may continue with the questions like for hours, but if somebody from the audience would like to ask a question, please feel free. Are there any questions? Okay, we have one.
Към Лорис и към Жорди. Колко важни са резултатите от футболните мачове за ръководствата и от академията като цяло?
How important are the results for the results of the academy clubs for the the board members, the directors, etc.
Lorris.
No, ma i risultati sono importanti perché Cioè, tutti noi siamo in competizione per migliorare, cioè non è che il risultato non è importante, anche perché il risultato ti dà la misura del miglioramento, no? Di solito.
So
Però
the results are important. Let's not pretend that that's not the case. It's also one measure how much you grow. One of all the measures possible how much you grow. But
l'importante è capire cosa uno è disposto a fare per ottenere il risultato.
the important thing is to understand and distinguish how much is one ready to do in order to achieve the result. Is the result everything or there is something more?
Noi adesso, io parlo di cose che no, abbiamo una squadra under 17 che non sta ottenendo risultati.
For example, now we have a team under 17 that doesn't get results. They stanno perdendo, no?
Male, vanno male.
They are really bad.
Però pensiamo, allora, i giocatori si allenano molto bene,
But the players are
l'allenatore è molto bravo.
really training really well, and also the coach is doing a great job.
Quindi i casi sono due, che o dobbiamo cambiare i giocatori o prima o dopo i risultati arrivano. Cioè, perché poi nel percorso di un giocatore, siccome questo è il nostro lavoro, noi dobbiamo avere anche la responsabilità di dire quando un giocatore non ce la fa più. Capite? Perché per giocare ad alto livello poi bisogna avere anche determinate qualità e non tutti possono farlo, anzi pochi.
So we have two choices. One is to change all the players, which is obviously not possible. And the other one is to be patient, and sooner or later the results will come. Also because we as directors, we need to be able to say and to identify at certain points when a player cannot make it anymore, when he reached a certain level and that's it, he cannot go higher.
Però in questo momento, capito, noi preferiamo allenarci bene, giocare bene, perché è più importante di vincere giocando male in questa età. E quindi cerchiamo di lavorare meglio, cerchiamo di fare di più per poter ottenere i risultati, ma non è il risultato che deve cambiare il nostro lavoro.
So now we just chose to continue working on the same way, referring back to the under 17 team in the example, and to wait for the results to come. Sooner or later, I think the results will be there, because we see that the players are training really well and the coach is doing a great job.
We have a question there. Jordi, you also going to answer the question?
So I think that I'm aligned. I will just give an example,
Oh,
because I think that we are really aligned. As we had to take a call, for example, with a right back, that in a game he was facing a big challenge, okay, a big challenge. And then your decision is, what do we do? Do we change him in order to win the match? Or do we embrace it as part of their development and say, no problem, I know that this is challenging, but you have to face it. Because we aim at a higher objective, no?
Long term.
So then I think that, as Loris was saying, as people with some responsibility in it, we have to give that help, that comfortable situation for the coaches to be part of that. Then if that keeps happening, maybe we have to take a decision. But to embrace that, and then with the ones, no, I'm pointing up, but directors or the owners, no, to be able to justify the why, no, why we do this. So I think that in our case, or at least how I understand, we play this role.
Thank you. So now we can continue with the questions. We still have another 3-4 minutes. We had a question there.
Yeah.
Use the microphone, please.
My question is, do you do internally inside your academies any kind of continuous, consistent education of the coaching staff? Do you provide something like that? And could you please share any good practices that you think we can implement here?
Sure. Yep. So yeah, it's. I think that we are lucky and we invest a lot of time, which means resources, because at the end resources are limited and you have to prioritize. So it's in one of the things that we invest a lot of it, time, which is money too. Like for example, we have weekly meetings where you deliver some stuff, then they are the ones that take the lead on it. Then we try to provide informal spaces, like places to come before so they discuss. We do mutual evaluations where it's not me evaluating a coach, it's a coach evaluating a colleague and commenting it. So we try to awake awareness, no? That's the word, awake awareness in different types and moreover in something consistent. Like for example, if a coach comes and says, yeah, we lost. So, okay, we lost, it's fine, I can see the result, no? But tell me more, no? And so where the people leading the process focus the attention is something very important to know. So tell me more about this player, about that one, how was it? So I think that there are multi-level options to take into account.
So basically you're saying you have like one coach is delivering the session and the other coaches are looking over the session and giving him feedback, not just like the head of the academy or anything like that, so they can think and be aware and just pick something from the session straight away.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that it cannot be done like all the coaches, but saying it's me with another one. So it's more a comfortable situation, more than 20 people observing me and the players, no? But sometimes maybe it's a situation that we want to provoke, no? Because for the players to see 20 people watching at them, it's also a stressful thing that it can be an interesting tool as coaching.
We have at the left
Lorris,
and
wanted
then
you?
on the right side.
Ah, vale.
Risponde lui e rispondo un'altra.
No.
No, vuoi che rispondo questa?
If you would like, please feel free.
Allora, noi distinguiamo tra quello che vorremmo fare e che ancora non riusciamo a fare, perché poi anche le strutture, no? Io penso che al di là del campo, del lavoro sul campo, dove ognuno ha un metodo che però è diverso, okay? Perché Barcellona ha un metodo di lavoro, Partizan ha un metodo di lavoro, Dinamo Zagabria ha un altro metodo di lavoro, sono tutti metodi diversi ma che producono giocatori. Okay?
So let's first of all distinguish between the different types of methods that the clubs are using. For example, Barcelona has one method of developing players and working on coaching education, and Partizan or Dinamo Zagreb has another one. All of them, they are producing players, that's for sure. But it's one thing what you want to achieve, and it's a different thing what you are actually able to do in the moment, also because you have the proper structure to do it.
Dopo giocatori anche diversi, fisicamente diversi, scelte diverse, no?
And also the players are different, and with physical characteristics and mentality.
Però io credo che la cosa importante, che è uguale per tutti, è che fuori dal campo ci sia un'idea di quello che uno vuol fare e che questa idea venga condivisa. Per cui è un continuo confronto, deve essere un continuo confronto, non può essere il direttore che dice quello che si fa, se poi chi lo fa non è convinto di farlo. Capito? Allora credo che il confronto, questo avviene quotidianamente, poi abbiamo dei momenti fissi, quindi una riunione tutte le settimane con i preparatori fisici, riunione non tutte le settimane perché è difficile, ma con gli allenatori, riunione con i medici, abbiamo la psicologa che interviene, che lavora sia sui giocatori, sulle famiglie, ma anche sugli allenatori, per capire se quello che dicono poi lo fanno anche in campo.
So one thing is really important and also common for everybody, and that's the common goal that we want to develop players. And also in that process, what is really important that we do meetings on a weekly basis with all the coaches, with the medical staff, with those responsible for the parents' relationships. And it's not like you can be a director saying all the time what needs to be done during the training sessions. The important thing is that you make the coaches buy the idea and they have to implement it, which means that you have to identify coaches that are actually engaged with the idea of the club, how you develop players. So that's part of the whole process of education of the coaches.
Poi c'è il tutor che si occupa della scuola, l'educazione, cioè tutto questo è uguale per tutti, penso, no? L'educazione e la cultura, lo studio, sono fondamentali anche per fare un calciatore migliore.
So this is something that is valid everywhere, I think, and that's we, for example, we have person responsible for the performance of the players at school, but also education and culture and
Sì, abbiamo un tutto, no, l'educazione e la cultura è importante perché, allora, se uno posso dirlo, se uno è stupido fuori dal campo, è stupido anche in campo.
Yeah, това го разбрахте вероятно без да ви превеждам. If one is, let's say, not very intelligent or clever outside of the pitch, it's the same on the pitch. He's not be very clever and intelligent on the pitch.
E dopo c'è una cosa che deve essere uguale per tutti, no? Che l'unico modo per imparare a giocare è giocare, perché noi possiamo insegnare le regole del gioco, ma si impara a giocare solo se i bambini si divertono e giocano.
So one thing is important and also common for everybody in all ages. You learn to play by playing. We can put a set of rules, we can educate, we can tell them how to do it better, but at the end, a player is better developed by playing.
Thank you. As we have to stick with the program, with the schedule, we have to say thank you to Mr. Loris and to Mr. Arasa. You have the chance to meet them in the polls and after the this day, this event, so you'll be able to put your questions.
C'è una signora là che...
Vesco?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi Jordi, can you tell us about special way to the first team about Marc Casadó? And the second part of the questions, why real legend like Xavi Hernandez didn't note him, didn't promote him to the first team, but here Hansi Flick did it? What is the reason?
I want to keep my job, this is the reason. So, no, but easy. I think that answer, it should be Xavi, and I honestly think the one answering that. But with Casadó is the thing that Loris was saying, that this I can tell you. He was a player that within the club they said he's going to make it to professional, but not to the first team. And you start the season and you see that Bernal is the one picked, and then he's injured, and then starts Casadó, and then it's amazing, no? So I think that this has to help us realize of how the process happened, that it's not 1 + 2 + 3, that sometimes these things happen and we have to be humble to accept it.
Okay, so maybe now it's time to say thank you. Grazie,
you.
obrigado.
Thank you.